Hey guys, Anthony Corelli here, formerly known as Santino Marella, and I'm about to do an interview with the Great North Wrestling. So stay tuned, it's going to be some fun.
So what is the Italian background that you have? Because I know you played an Italian character in WWE, but you're not.
Yeah, my dad immigrated from Italy when he was 8 years old. So my grandparents were fresh off the boat. My aunts, my uncles were all fresh off the boat, and that was really the foundation of the nucleus of Santino. Was just relating to my family members, and some of the things I would say, the mannerisms are just family members I have. So it was pretty easy to draw from.
And a lot of people aren't aware that you have quite an impressive judo background. You want to just tell us some of your accomplishments?
Yeah, I started judo when I was 9 years old, and I just found my sport. I participated right through university, and I came second place 4 times at the national championships in different age groups before I finally won the men under 21 national championships. I went to the junior worlds for Canada and international high school championships, and I fought a few international tournaments. My judo career never ended exactly the way I always envisioned. I had throughout my university years, I got married, had a child. Had a child, got married. And got divorced and had to go. So my university experience wasn't the norm, that's for sure. So it did affect my judo career.
And you wrestled a little bit in university?
Yeah, I wrestled for Concordia. I wrestled here for Pocock across the street. Actually, when I was in high school, I went to Robson a couple times, but I never went to OFSA because it was the same time as our nationals.
Right.
So twice, guys I beat at Robson went and won OFSA. So I never won OFSA, but I'd like to think I could have, right?
Who was your coach at Concordia?
Victor Zoberman.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. He's coached me a little bit as well. And were you always a pro wrestling fan growing up?
Yeah, we had WWF in the 80s, and I loved Ricky Steamboat and Dynamite Kid and Hulk Hogan and Billy Jack Haynes, and that whole generation I was captivated. I just thought, I'm only 5'10", 220 pounds. I didn't, think I was able to do it until I found out that some of the guys I really looked up to as professional wrestlers were smaller than me. So I'm like, damn, if they can do it, if size is not going to be an obstacle, let's do it.
And you mentioned Billy Jack Haynes. What do you think of him lately? He's kind of...
Oh, I haven't seen his videos. I've heard he's pretty fired up in them, but I haven't seen them.
Okay. And so we actually started training you in pro wrestling.
Well, at my university wrestling team, there was my friend named Jordan. His dad was Don Koloff. He wrestled in WWF and Calgary Stampede in the 80s. And he had this little private school in Woodbridge, Ontario. I moved to Markham, and I'm like, your dad teaches people? Like, oh my God, my destiny just found me. This is crazy. So I knew I was going to do it. I was still in university, so I kind of had to finish that. And I worked in the corporate world for a little bit, so I ended up starting late. I started training at 28 years old, and I had a whole life before even I started wrestling. My judo life, I have a child, I'm a dad already, and all this stuff. And I worked in the corporate world and trying to get out of student loans and struggling and knowing I'm destined for greater, but God, when's the break going to happen in life? Yeah, and then we just saved up some money and packed up and knelt my daughter down and said, Daddy's going on a mission, I'm going to be back. I really wanted to look successful in her eyes, and it motivated me to go and do whatever it takes to be successful.
And you had some experience wrestling in Japan?
Yeah, so I had 6 indie matches. I trained for a year, and then I had 6 indie matches. And I just realized, no one's going to see these. There's no one here who's going to say, hey, he's good. So I have to go somewhere and put myself in front of the right people that can make decisions and, and hire you ultimately. So I went to Japan. That was the only connection we had at the time. I figured my goal was to get really popular in Japan, and then have Vince say, or someone say, hey, have you heard about this guy? He's doing really well overseas, and he's from North America. And hopefully he would say, what? Well, I want him here. If he's, that was my goal. So I went there, and after basically near the end of the year, I overstayed my tourist visa. I overstayed my visa. I didn't leave in 3 months, and I was banned for a year. So I'm like, no, I had an apartment, I had a scooter, I had a life, I had everything there. I was working, I was doing extra work for like acting and like commercials and reenactments, and it was awesome. I had a great time, and it just like came to an abrupt stop.
So you went to OVW?
Yeah, so I reformulated the game plan and went to OVW. Again, packed up the car. Back then it was MapQuest, you know. I just drove down, followed the directions, and showed up at OVW.
Did you have to pay to train there since you
Oh
were
yeah,
in contract?
yeah. I paid. I went to beginners class, and you know, because I wrestled in Japan a little bit. People don't know to what extent, so they kind of elevate you, and they're really willing to kind of give you that little. Wow, here's experience. Let's give him a shot. So it was good because doing judo paid dividends in Japan because judo is Japanese, and to be a national champion is something huge in Japan. So coming in as the Canadian champion, it elevated me there too. And then when I came here, when I went to OVW, I just trained like really hard, 2-3 times a day. I burned myself out actually. I had to take some breaks because I just said to myself, if I'm away from my family, there's no way I'm gonna not train as hard as possible, you know. So I maximized it, and luckily found Mr. Rip Rogers, who, you know, really gave me the skill set to go get a job and get hired and just understand this. He expedited my training because I started so late. I needed someone to expedite my training, and he did. He's awesome.
What was so special about Rip that really helped you?
Just the way he explains things, you know. He takes the time to explain it. He'll give examples, and he'll make from because the way he learned to wrestle was he just lied and said he knew how to wrestle one day and was like in the show, and just hung around, wanted to be around, and literally had no training. He's self-taught, and by doing that, he had to make every mistake in the book, and say, okay, that didn't work because of this, and he learned, and now what he does is he pays attention to how he coaches and how he conveys the information, all that information to his students, and he pays attention to his curriculum, and he's always changing and tweaking it. And you'll see guys down there like guys that are undersized and they won't make it, but wrestling better than some guys that are in the big leagues because they have an awesome coach.
And how did the contracted wrestlers treat you as a non-contract wrestler at that time?
Oh, they were cool. Everyone was cool. So the way it worked, there was 3 levels at OVW. There was beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And the advanced class was also the class that the developmental talent was in. So at the time, let's say there was 30 guys, 26 were signed, and there was 4 guys in the advanced class.
Okay.
So yeah, paid my way in, knowing that the producers, like, you know, Arn and Ricky and Dean and Fit, they come down to OVW once in a while and they observe the current developmental talent and see who's ready, right, or see if anyone's improving. And when they came down to look at the talent, I had a chance to have a match in front of them, and good reviews. Another match, good reviews. Then Paul Heyman came up to me one day after practice and said, "I want to start you on OVW TV next week." And I was just like, "Oh my God, this is my break. This is crazy." And he did, and it was fun. That's when I was Boris, the Russian shoot fighter guy. And
when that infamous thing happened with Jim Cornette, were you already wrestling, or were you still?
I just finished. I did a month of the beginners class.
Okay.
And I just went to the intermediate class, and the intermediate class goes to the shows, and they kind of sit in the audience and help out and stuff. So that's what he thought I was in that class.
What happened there, anyways? The
Boogeyman debuted his new costume, and it was having like a bit of a wardrobe malfunction. The horns were sliding. It was hot. The makeup. He didn't perfect it yet, you know, because he perfected it after Marty. I'm talking about the Boogeyman. He's awesome. So Cornette was getting frustrated. Some people were laughing, and I was sitting in front of an exit door, so I thought he was going to go out. No, I didn't know he was going to go out the exit door. I'm sitting there. My daughter's in front of me, and he turned to me because he's going out the door, but I thought he was just going to scare my daughter for me and do me a favor, like a solid, you know, and just give her a great experience of being scared by the Boogeyman. So I had a smile on my face, and he just lost it, and he invited me in the back and came up to me and said, "You think this is a joke?" And then f-bomb, slapped me.
He claimed that he paintbrushed you 3 times in an interview. I heard. Is that true?
Yeah, he went like, he went pop, pop, pop. I couldn't do anything back to him. He knew that. He took advantage of the fact that if I'm a young up and coming guy in the business, I'm not gonna punch out Jim Cornette, obviously, right? You know. I'm Canadian. I would have been kicked out of the country. I imagine they would have called the police. This guy assaulted this guy. Yeah. He's a known name in the town. So I really had no choice not to do anything. I sucked it up. I lost a little sleep over it back then. But you know what? By doing that to someone and taking advantage of it, the punishment is in that he kind of showed who he was.
Right.
He's that guy. The guy that would take advantage of someone that wouldn't do anything back. Like, you know.
And he was ultimately fired over that.
Yeah, apparently he was going to be fired anyway. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back, and they gave him a reason to expedite it. He's a loose cannon. He threatened guys, and yeah, he was pretty bad.
And I also heard him say in an interview that the Boogeyman was also mad at you.
No, Boogeyman wasn't mad at me. He says that, but I talked to Marty after, and I'm like, he's like, "I wasn't mad at you, man." I'm like, "I didn't think you were." He was frustrated.
Yeah.
He was upset because of what happened, but you know, yeah, no, Marty and I are good.
Is everything good with you and Jim now?
I never met him. I never met him outside that time. You know, I would have loved to learn from him. I wanted to learn from everybody I could. People that have been around, have a lot of experience, but I never had the opportunity. That was it. Recently, he's talking about it online, but I'm not gonna engage in a back and forth. I'm busy, man. You know, I got stuff to do, right? And I remember WWE when the whole thing happened. They were like, you know, you're not gonna get a freebie out of it. Still got to earn it, but we'll give you an unbiased, you know, review. And they did. And they came and it's funny, when I got signed, I went up to Johnny Ace and I'm like, I just want to thank you for giving me the unbiased review. And he looked at me and he's kind of like, "What?" I said, "I'm the guy from the Cornette thing." And he was kind of like, "Holy shit, yeah." So, which is good. It means, so you didn't know when you hired me, you didn't know I was that guy. So I earned it on my own. Then they forgot about it, I guess, or who I was. So that felt good.
Was there any apology ever from the WWE office on behalf of?
Oh yeah. Of course, talent relations called and said, "Listen, that's not how we treat our talent. It's not, you know, we want it to be a positive, nourishing environment." And they handled it professionally. I was a grown man at the time, right? Too. It wasn't going to stop me. It wasn't going to get in my way. It was an insignificant thing.
Took a lot worse beatings of that. Your MMA, I guess.
Yeah, even judo. You know, when you're like 16 years old and you go to like a training camp with the national team, and you're a 175-pound kid, and there's a 175-pound man that wants to kick your ass. Yeah, I got some beats.
Is there any specific memories of Paul Heyman that really stand out to you?
I just remember Paul Heyman sitting on that ring after an OVW TV taping, and just so eloquently and passionately just explaining to the class the vision he had and what he did and what we did that night. And I could listen to him talk all day. Paul Heyman's like, he's awesome, man.
What are your thoughts on him and Brock Lesnar now doing pretty well for themselves?
Oh, I love Brock Lesnar as a person. He's awesome. I love his wrestling style. I love that realistic, you know, takedown, make people question for a second. There's people, and he got me with the Cena, when he cracked open Cena with the elbows. Yeah. I'm like, is this off script or whatever you want to say? And that means he got me. If you question it for a second, they got you, you know?
Yeah. What did you think of the Randy Orton thing?
I actually just saw like pictures the next day on Twitter. It's pretty, yeah. I haven't talked to Randy yet about it, actually. We used to ride together, so we talk. But, you know, family life is, he had a new baby.
Yeah.
And he's married and stuff, and, you know, same here, married, run a business. So it's, you don't keep in touch as much as you'd like to.
Brock's last MMA fight, what did you think of that?
It was good. He showed that when he's healthy, he can go with anybody, you know. I believe he can. I'd like to see him have a few more fights.
What do you think of that he failed the test for the UFC, but it didn't really affect him in WWE?
I don't know if he failed the test for what?
apparently he failed the drug test. I guess you've been too busy. You haven't heard that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like recently?
He's suspended for 2 years from MMA. Right
What?
now. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But apparently because it was a UFC test, or it was a Nevada State Athletic Commission test and not a...
Aegis or WWE test,
Yeah.
which makes sense, yeah.
Working with Vince McMahon right at the start, coming in with that character, how did that come about from OVW?
Vince had this idea, because the Raw was going to be in Milan, to have an Italian guy come out of the crowd in the audience, accepting an open invitation from a guy that, you know, no one would take a fight from, Umaga at the time. And the creative would brainstorm and sit around and say, is there anybody in the roster that's Italian? And I think it was Mike Bucci, Nova, who kind of said, well, Boris is actually Anthony Corelli. It sounds pretty Italian. So they called me and they were like, can you speak any Italian? And I remember Dusty Rhodes one time saying, if they ask you if you can do anything, the answer is yes. And then you better learn how to do it, really, you know. So I'm like, yeah, I can speak Italian. I said a few things that I had from a little audio cassette I used to listen to on the way to work. I just play it all the time. It was like a tourist Italian tape. And it was whatever. I said it convincingly enough that they said, okay. And they flew me out and I debuted as Santino. So I knew that I wasn't going to be speaking in Italian in North America on the program, and so I had to do the accent and stuff because I was supposed to be from there.
What do Italian people think of that?
Well, that's the thing. Because Santino was like a goofy character, I was always like, man, I hope these Italian guys aren't being offended by how I'm portraying an Italian when I'm Canadian. You know, I don't want to say, this guy doesn't even win matches. He's not even Italian. And he's saying he's Italian. But they didn't say that. I went there and they said, no, we love the character. We love the fact that you're playing tribute to it. And they all know. So the word in Italy is his dad's from Italy, so he's half Italian. So they're very accepting of it. And yeah, it's awesome.
How was the locker room towards you getting kind of being thrown right in there and getting the Intercontinental?
Well, I knew a bunch of guys that passed through OVW and guys that I trained with in OVW that were now on the road, so it wasn't too bad. You just got to earn their respect, and you know, go on a few tours and go around the world a couple times with some people, and they're like, all right, he's good, you know, he's a good guy to have around. He's not going to be a locker room cancer kind of thing, you know.
And Bobby Lashley was involved a little bit in that Umaga angle. Any memories of him? Yeah,
he was in OVW. So when I first got there, he was in the contracted class, and I was just like, what? He was jacked, and I'm like, what? And then I heard he can wrestle like amateur really well too. I'm like, God damn, he was one of the most impressive physical specimens I've ever seen. He was so shredded. His lower back was like striated. It was crazy.
And what do you think of his success in MMA? He's had a pretty good run overall.
Yeah, he's been doing good. I don't know if he's going to move up. I hope he moves up the ladder and gets a high-profile fight and see how he does with someone who's really good, because he's there. His physical attributes, he's there, you know.
And you were managed by Maria a bit in the WWE, and you actually did a lot of angles with her. What was it like working with her?
She's like just the most pleasant person to be around. She's always, you know, never pulled diva moves, and she's like, let's do it one more time, let's do it again until it was done right. And yeah, you got to respect her for that. And she went on the road and she paid her dues, and she went from town to town to town to town like everybody else, and she earned it.
And you worked with Steve Austin a little bit around the time of his Condemned movie. What was he like?
Oh, Steve, it was like, you know, I was intimidated, but it was a dream come true, and he's cool. I did his podcast yesterday, because I started hunting now, and he's an avid hunter, so we talked about that a little bit. It's funny, I didn't get a chance to tell him on the podcast, so as the character Santino, I would, you know, shit on the movie, right, and say it was horrible, but in like reality, I really liked the movie. I never got a chance to tell him.
Interesting. And you were in a movie of your own recently, weren't you?
Jingle All the Way 2.
Jingle All the Way 2, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I always used to let the WWE studios know that I was interested, and I wanted to take a different character and challenge myself, because I I got an agent now. I'm gonna start doing some acting and stuff, cameos, commercials. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot.
What was Larry the Cable Guy like to work with?
He's like one of the boys. Like he could, like, pro wrestler. He could be in our locker room. They do the same thing. Comedians and pro wrestlers. It's very similar. They're on the road, town to town to town to town, doing shows, town to town, living out of a suitcase. So there's a lot of similarities.
And did you enjoy working with Jerry Lawler?
Jerry, I love Jerry. I love his art. I love his wit. I've picked his brain so much. I have the utmost respect for him.
What do you think now that he's kind of moved away from commentating and?
Well, you know, he just wants to enjoy life a little bit. He worked for a long time, and you know, he's not on the road 5 days a week, but he's on the road every week. So he deserves a break, yeah.
And you work with Carlito. He's been with our company a few times. What was he like?
Oh, he's so funny. He's awesome. I didn't really meet anybody that was bad there, but he's a funny guy, man. His sense of humor is really good. And I was green, and I was tagging with him, and I would take like all the heat and the comebacks and all this stuff. And he just, you know, we politicked his way out of taking all the bumps. I took all the bumps.
And you were clotheslined by Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania 24.
Yeah.
What was it like working with a legend like that?
You know, he's tall. He's like 6'5" or something. And actually, the clothesline was like, it was there, man. It was a stiff clothesline. He was strong. For his size, he was strong, man.
Was he all together? Like?
Yeah, he was there. Well, yeah. One point I thought, is he sleeping? But he wasn't.
And you worked with Cody Rhodes too, who's doing quite well for himself now. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, Cody I saw come into OVW. I was there already, and all of a sudden, your Dusty Rhodes' son's coming. And he came, and you could tell he'd been around the business a lot and probably tried some stuff in the ring with his brother and everything, but this is his first time, I think, full-time training. And he, you know, he's like a natural. Obviously, he's really good. And, yeah, you know, if Dusty Rhodes wasn't his dad, I think he could have made it anyway. He was that good. But that's the thing, when you're the son of Dusty Rhodes, you kind of like, you don't want to be getting favoritism. Although it's, you know, great to have, and you wouldn't turn down the opportunity if it came your way. But you want to make it on your own merit, and he's good, man. He made it on his own merit.
Do you think it's a wise decision what he did?
Yeah, he was so smart. They got their stars right now. They got a guy who's kind of floundering. He wasn't a top guy. Now he's going everywhere. He's having awesome matches, wrestling the way he wants to wrestle without the drama of WWE TV. And yeah, he's doing great. I'm happy for him. He's going to go back to WWE one day for sure. He's just building up his stock.
And you also worked with Roddy Piper, who's a massive legend. What was it like with him?
He is. He's a legend. Like, when it comes to the word legend, like Roddy Piper, my God, what an icon. And rightfully so. He was talented and bright, and you know, he was a street kid at some point, and a street entertainer. Played the bagpipes on the street. And I mean, like, to be a guy that made millions and tons of TV and movies, like, he's a success story. At the end of the day, he was a success story.
And you had an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel with him. Was that pretty cool?
Oh, Jimmy Kimmel is, yeah, you know, I kind of got, while I was there and did that little work together, you kind of got close to them, you know. The family was still welcoming. Uncle Frank, his mom, Cousin Sal, his family went out to dinner. Like, they're classy guys, man, very classy.
And Piper ended up slapping you too. Whose slaps were
stiffer? Piper's were way harder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Cornette's was like an old woman, you know. But Piper, his were in there, and he had to do it like, oh God. I thought someone was ribbing me because we had to do it like 7 or 8 times, and I'm like, ooh. But he was kind of like, sorry kid, you know, but they gotta come. I'm like, I know, it's okay. But yeah, he was good.
He just gets really fired up, I guess.
You have to do, yay, man. You know, I'm like, there's not gonna be any holes in my game. Sorry, you're gonna have to take one.
And you did a couple matches with Beth Phoenix. What was it like working with a woman?
She's the consummate professional, and probably one of the sweetest people I met in the industry throughout my entire career. She's and her and Edge right now are together, and I'm like Of course, they found each other because they're both awesome people, and like they have a happy, awesome life together.
And you had a big angle in 2008 with the honka-meter. Were you originally going to be beating the Honky Tonk?
Originally, the plan was to do it, yeah, and they just changed their mind one day. Someone convinced them that it's stupid. And the thing is, with pro wrestling, it's really someone's opinion.
Yeah.
You know, you could have 100 guys put on 100 shows. Every show would be totally different, with different finishes and all that kind of stuff, and things that you want to see. So someone didn't like that style. Vince liked the entertainment value of wrestling, and he liked an element of comedy, and that's how I was able to keep my job, you know.
And that angle was pretty over too, I remember.
It was, you know what, for how long it was, I'll do signings now, and people will be like, bro, I wish the honka-meter was still around. Everyone loved the honka-meter, it was crazy.
And what was it like actually working with the Honky Tonk Man? Because
it was again, you know, he's a consummate professional. He had a lot of experience, and seeing him in person is like, you know, it brought the fan out in me too, because he was there when I was pretty young.
Yeah, and he always put you over. We've done a few interviews with him as well. He wished that it had gone further as well. And you ended up having the shortest Royal Rumble elimination in history.
Yeah.
I guess, was that intentional? That's part of it they wanted.
Yeah, I was gonna have an in and out pretty quick, and I said, well, if we're gonna do that, when you're given lemons, you make lemonade. And I said, well, why don't we break the record then? Make it worth our while. And I devised the technique that would be the quickest, and Kane executed it perfect. He was right there. And yeah, we broke the record. So it was nerve-wracking, because if we didn't do it just right, we wouldn't have broke the record.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And
if I stalled, like went and didn't go all the way over, we would have broken it. So we had one shot and we did it, like the Eminem song.
And you were crowned Miss WrestleMania. What did you think of that?
Yeah, that was when I was really kind of doing the comedy stuff, and I was supposed to be showing Beth Phoenix that men are superior as athletes, so I was going to dress as a woman, you know, sneak my way into the Divas Battle Royal, win it, and then say, haha, I'm a man, see, men are better athletes. But it was so funny that it ended up sticking around for a few months. So yeah, some interesting videos on YouTube that I'll never, you know, they're always going to be there. So.
And you were ultimately fired from that by Donald Trump, right?
Santino was fired by Donald Trump. Yeah, recently I watched it because obviously he's pretty popular right now.
What was it like working with him? Did you have much contact with him?
We said hi, how you doing? You know, in between takes, just okay. It was kind of neither good nor bad. It was kind of just, you know.
Was he pretty professional?
Oh yeah. It was. You can tell when someone's at that level, they're you know, they got people around them, they got assistants, and they got things, and they're thinking of something else. You know what I mean?
Was it nerve-wracking at all?
No, he was not intimidating at all. He was very just cool.
And you ended up teaming with Vladimir Kozlov, who I actually knew a little bit in Deep South, and I thought he was a great wrestler. What was your thoughts of working with him?
Oh, he's super, like, world champion.
Yeah.
We rode together, man. We split rooms. We were married for a couple of years there, and I wouldn't have traded it for the world, man. It was some of my best years in wrestling was riding with him as tag team champions. It was awesome.
Do you think they could have done more with him?
I think we could have stayed tag. I would have been content to stay tag team for years. Yeah. For some reason, they got in their head that he wasn't developing or evolving. I wasn't getting it. But I'm like, he doesn't have to get it. I got it. It's like, we'll have him there, you know?
And he's in John Wick 2 and the next Fast and Furious movie. What do you think of his acting success?
He just came from China for this huge movie, too. Yeah.
Is it an American movie or Chinese movie?
It's a Chinese movie, I think.
Okay.
But he looks the part. He is perfect for the role. He's a giant 300-pound ripped guy. Or like 285 or whatever he is. And he has that look. So, yeah, there's always they need those guys in the movies. You know, they need them.
Is there any reason why he never actually had an MMA fight? Because he was training for MMA fights for a while.
I didn't know one wanted to fight him.
Right.
I wouldn't want to fight him.
Right.
He's a world Sambo champion. He's 300 pounds. He's shredded, and he looks like a monster. Like he came out of a laboratory. You know, he's. I wouldn't mind. Yeah. So someone would probably watch them and be like, I'm good.
Yeah. So there's probably he would have to have a few fights before UFC and just at that.
He's a world class athlete. Yeah. If they threw him a fat tin can to get a warm up fight, it would be like he would eat him. He would kill him.
Speaking of tin cans, what did you think about Batista's MMA fight? Because the guy that.
Oh yeah, he just looked like he was in bad shape, kind of like Roy Nelson.
Yeah.
But the guy had hands. The guy had, just maybe he has no self control when it comes to junk food, but he was an athlete.
Yeah, and Batista ended up winning that fight.
Yeah.
So. Did you have much contact with Batista at all?
Batista and I were always close because we shared an affinity for martial arts and stuff, and he invited me to do jiu-jitsu with him in Tampa. I actually went out one day. I couldn't find a place. I don't know, my GPS was wrong. But yeah, I ran into him, and we've been on some tours together. And Dave's like, you met Dave before?
Yeah, only briefly.
It's like the coolest guy like ever. Like just the way he acts, he's always chill. He's just jacked, and you look at him, he dresses really nice, and you're like, this guy's the coolest guy ever.
Have you seen him in the new Kickboxer movie that just came out?
No, I heard. Is he Tung Po in the movie? Dude, I heard that. I gotta see that.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Where is it? Is it in theaters already?
It's actually on Blu-ray already.
No way. Okay, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, it's pretty excellent. And there was rumors that during the Elimination Chamber match in Puerto Rico, I believe, they were thinking about during the match to switch the finish and make you the champion.
I don't know. That was like, there was rumors that people were looking at Vince and thought he was going to do call an audible.
Right, because the crowd was just fully behind you.
Yeah, even Cena came up to me after and he's like, I know what I'm capable of doing, and I'm not capable of getting that crowd louder than you just got them right there. And I was like, wow, thank you, man. That was a nice compliment. And
you teamed with Jim Duggan a few times. What was it like working with him?
Jim was at my first indie match ever. He was in the locker room, and him and I have had many long, wonderful conversations. He's a class act.
And you also wrestled Jinder Mahal a few times. He's wrestled for our company a bunch of times, so I just have to ask you about him for that reason.
Oh, he's, you ever gone out with Jinder?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so he's a fun guy, Canadian boy, and when I was down, when you're in Tampa and there's a Canadian guy, you kind of, hey, what's up, man? You know he's going to be a solid dude. He's from Canada, right?
Yeah. Why do you think he's been kind of stuck at the opening match level pretty much for his entire life?
I don't know. He looks good. He wrestles good. He's a heel. He's not your baby face. I don't think if he could ever be a baby face. He'll be there. He's so young still, eh?
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy, like, 6 years from now, he could have a totally crazy run.
And you were in WWE for the TV 14 era and the PG era. Which era did you enjoy better, and what were the main differences?
PG era was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, they want to see, like, Degeneration X type stuff. But you know what? That's what we had to work with, and within that, the confines of that. And you can still become very entertaining and keep it clean, Yeah, there was even a while when they had that kids show and it had to be like super clean, like they didn't even want punches in the face. And they called upon me to do that, and it kind of challenges your ability to tell a story and entertain with limitations. It makes you a better wrestler.
And what happened with the injury that ultimately kind of ended your WWE career?
Yeah, my neck was going. I heard it a little bit once in high school, a little bit, once in college, and neck bridging and landing the wrong way, and so I protected it. I always protected it. I would get stingers in judo, bad ones, if someone hit my chin in. It was like, zing. So I would have flare-ups where I couldn't move very well at all, and then everything went away, and I kind of just, did a lot of traction and just maintenance work. So we kept it going for a while, but then it just got to a point. I reached that critical mass, and yeah, it was time.
And I guess originally you were going to have a longer role as a non-wrestling role with WWE, but it fell through.
Yeah, so because I was off for like a year after my neck surgery, they have the option to tag that onto a contract and add the year. And at first they said they were going to do it, so I thought it was good to 2017. But then they changed their mind. They made a cleaning and stuff. But it was good. I was actually, you always wonder what life post WWE is going to be like, and it's kind of scary but liberating. And like, you know, I had a definite, like I said, complete life before WWE, and I'm going to have you know, multiple lives after WWE. I started on Sportsnet already, and they're awesome. They're super welcoming. We do Aftermath, and I hope to get my own show one day. So that's happening. Battle Arts. I knew my neck was the clock was ticking, so I built Battle Arts in between a couple contracts. One time I asked for 6 months off, and really just kind of driving around, getting architects, lawyers, you know, everything I needed to do here and organize everything. And yeah.
You want to tell people that haven't heard of it exactly?
In Mississauga, Ontario, but it's right beside Toronto. It's actually the Toronto airport is in Mississauga. It's a training site. I built my dream facility. So if I walked in, I see wrestling mats. As soon as I walk in, there's a nice bar at the front where you can get smoothies. There's a boxing section. Then there's a pro wrestling ring with bleachers in the back. So this gym transforms. We roll the mats up, slide the curtains, put chairs. It's an arena. And we do shows here. I built it for our pro wrestlers to have an opportunity to work in front of a live audience and get organic feedback, so we can critique, watch tape, break it down, say what worked, what didn't work. And then the byproduct of that was that we have this wrestling, boxing facility, kickboxing facility, and we do shows like for those sports as well. And we're actually just getting our liquor license now, so it's a fun time here. The Don Koloff Arena that's what it's called. My first coach, Don Koloff. It's called the Don Koloff Arena. And yeah, it already, in our 3 years, 3 months, there's already been some classic memories and moments and shows and knockouts, and it's building a rich history.
And you have a TV deal.
Fight Network?
Yeah, I heard something about like it's like Netflix or something, but for Canada, Bell. It's on Bell or something.
Oh, that's Destiny.
Oh, that's not your company.
Yeah, Destiny Wrestling. They wrestle here, but that's not my company.
Okay.
That's George Iceman.
But they do tapings here.
They tape here. Bell 5-1 comes here, and they run nationally across Canada. He's a big part of the show. He's a really good commentator. Okay. He's like if he does his own announcing, he's the best. But you know, he's kind of behind the scenes running it. And
I guess you had a Global Force Wrestling show here recently.
Yeah, you know, I've become pretty good friends with Scott Demore. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable, tons of experience he's like my age, but he's like so much more experienced than me. And we're going to come together and do some projects together in the new year.
What's going on with Global Force? Because there's a lot of people wondering what's going on with that company.
I don't know. I don't have time to follow much.
So that was just a deal where they...
Oh, they were in town. They had a show somewhere else.
Okay.
The next day, and they thought, well, since we're in town, we already paid for their flights. Let's get a show in.
Show here. And I got to ask you, since you're obviously an MMA expert, what did you think of CM Punk's MMA fight? Yeah,
it was tough. You know, it was tough. He loves it, and he knows that if you work hard at something, you can become good at something. And he said, well, I love this. I'm going to work really hard to become good at it, but it takes a lot longer. It takes, you know, like you should have been a college wrestler, a national competitor at something, and I think that would have really helped his foundation. But he has some special abilities, like his stamina is insane, his technique, he's flexible. You know, he has definitely the attributes that can be applied. Just a little case of too late, maybe.
Do you think that's good for the sport, that like a world champion pro wrestler?
Yeah, no, obviously.
Like that? You
know, but Brock kind of saved our reputation a little bit. There's a lot of guys that could do really well there. I mean, look at the guys, Swagger, All-American wrestler, Nick Nemeth, fantastic college wrestler. A lot of guys competed, even like Kofi, John Morrison. These guys all wrestled in college. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton were state champs growing up in their respective states. There's a lot of guys there that they can go.
And what would your best fighting advice be for someone if you could give an MMA fighter like one piece of advice?
Oh God, yeah, learn to box. For me as a grappler, just a lot of boxing, a lot of sparring. You have to have realistic. You can't not go full out contact and then get to a fight like that. You don't want that to be the first time, because you'll learn a lot. Keep your chin down. Keep your hands up, because you'll get tagged a few times. You got to make you got to make every mistake to learn from.
And for a pro wrestler, what would your best advice be?
Just be realistic with yourself in terms of your physical ability. There's some guys that are. I mean, everyone has the right to join the pro wrestling club, and just do it and train it and love it and learn from it and take part in it. But if you want to make it to a high level, then you have to be honest with yourself and look at your physical attributes. And if you're just not strong or fast or coordinated, you're not going to make it to that level. You got to be really good, and you got to be a high level athlete. Even if you're a skinny guy or a little guy, as long as you're a wicked athlete, you can work with something. It looks easy on TV, but that's because those are professionals, so it's not as easy as it looks. And a lot of guys, they find out the hard way, and they get in there and they feel like an idiot in their match, and they're lost like a deer in headlights, and it happens. It takes hopefully you find. I got lucky, right? I found awesome coaches.
Yeah.
Both Don Koloff, Yuki Ishikawa, Rip Rogers. I even had Al Snow at the end, and then all the producers on the road. So.
Oh, what did you think of Al Snow?
Oh, he's like an evil genius. He's jacked now. You see pictures of him now?
I wrestled him in May. So.
No way.
Yeah,
he's awesome. Man. He helped me a lot with my pre-WWE polishing up.
And just a couple more questions here. Your daughter is apparently Miss Teen World. Is that true?
She was Miss Teen Ontario a couple of years ago now, before university. She's finishing up Western right now. This was in high school, yeah. She's a talented actress or whatever. She maybe we'll send her to NXT to do some on camera stuff. She's good. She's very good at it.
And speaking of NXT, I've heard you say that you'd like this to be like an NXT.
Yeah, NXT North. We have an awesome talent pool here in Ontario. We can definitely run territory, and the guys that would rise to the top here could then go down to NXT. Plus, we could take guys from England, Australia, very easy because we're Commonwealth countries. Toronto's an awesome city. There's so many cities within an hour here. You got Guelph, Kitchener, Hamilton, London, Oshawa. You can work a whole circuit out here. If we were on the network or on a TV program here, and we said, January 14th, we're coming to the Nassau Coliseum or whatever, and let people know about it. That's just the way WWF did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, they're coming to Barrie, Ontario. Oh my God!
For people that want to find out more about your school, what's the website? What's your personal social media?
Yeah, Battle Arts Academy. The website is battleartsacademy.ca. We have guys from all over the world here. We got guys from Brazil, Australia, France, England, US, Japan. The guys come to train with Ishikawa. He's like a grappling legend, and it's getting a really good reputation. We do some things that some of our younger wrestlers, if they're going to be taking part in their first couple of shows, we make them shoot and have a submission match before, and the guy that wins gets to win the match and stuff. So people like that. The word got out that we do that, and there's a lot of guys out there that wished it was like that, because then they would be champions.
There's a lot of guys that wouldn't even be in the business if they did that.
Yeah, they would never win a match.
And for your personal social media, do you have Twitter?
I'm Milan Miracle, and my Instagram is The Milan Miracle, and Facebook, my personal one's kind of maxed out at 5,000, but the WWE Santino one's like crazy, but I don't control that.
And is there any message you want to say to your fans that might?
My fans, it's funny. We had a very different relationship because I kind of came from the crowd and because I'm the size of an average person. I really feel like the crowd accepted me as we were the same people, and they didn't put me on a pedestal. I wasn't like a superstar like that. I was kind of like, I can do this, man. If you can do it, I can do it. So I think I connected with a lot of people that way. Plus, we shared a lot of laughter, and you laugh with someone for 7, 8, 9 years. You feel like you know them a little bit.
Very good. Well, thanks a lot for doing the interview, and good luck with everything.
Oh man, my pleasure. Thank you.